When people talk about the future of the NBA, the conversation usually starts with the first overall pick. But every once in a while, there's another player who quietly builds a resume just as impressive. Someone who never stops proving he belongs at the top of every level he plays. That player is Darryn Peterson. Before becoming the second overall pick in the 2026 NBA Draft, Peterson had already spent years establishing himself as one of the most complete guards in the country. From dominating high school basketball to representing Team USA and rewriting freshman records at Kansas, every stage of his journey added another reason for scouts to believe he could become one of the next great NBA guards. But long before the rankings, the awards, and the draft night spotlight, Darryn Peterson was simply a kid growing up in Canton, Ohio, learning the game that would eventually define his future. Basketball was always part of his life. His father, Darryn Peterson II, played college basketball, giving Darryn an early introduction to the game. Competition was normal inside the Peterson household. His older brother excelled in football. From a young age, coaches noticed something different about him. It wasn't just his ability to score. His footwork looked unusually polished for someone his age. He played with patience, rarely looked rushed, and consistently made the right basketball decision. While many young players relied on athleticism to dominate games, Peterson was already developing the skills that would eventually separate him from other elite prospects. As he entered high school, those traits immediately translated onto the court. Playing for Cuyahoga Valley Christian Academy in Ohio, Peterson made an instant impact. As a freshman, he averaged 26.1 points, 10.5 rebounds, and 5.8 assists per game. Those numbers alone were impressive, but what stood out even more was how complete his game already looked. He wasn't simply filling the scoring column. He was rebounding, creating for teammates, and controlling the pace of games far beyond what most freshmen were capable of. Instead of slowing down during his sophomore season, he became even more productive. His scoring jumped to 31 points per game, while continuing to contribute nearly 10 rebounds every night. By then, he was no longer viewed as one of Ohio's best young players. He had become one of the top prospects in the country. But Peterson understood something important. If he wanted to prepare for the NBA, he needed to challenge himself against the very best competition available. That decision led him to Huntington Prep. The move wasn't about statistics or attention. It was about development. Every practice featured elite talent. Every game presented a higher level of competition. Instead of dominating against familiar opponents, Peterson was forced to improve every part of his game against players chasing the same dream. Later, he transferred again, this time to prolific Prep in California, one of the nation's premier basketball programs and a destination for many of the country's highest-ranked recruits. This became the most important stretch of his high school career. Against elite competition on a nightly basis, Peterson delivered the best basketball of his life. He averaged 30.4 points, 7.2 rebounds, 7.4 assists, and 2.2 steals per game during his senior season. By the end of his senior season, there was little debate left. He had established himself as one of the premier prospects in the entire 2026 recruiting class. But his reputation wasn't built only through high school basketball. One of the biggest turning points in Peterson's development came while representing USA basketball. Peterson averaged 16.8 points, 3.8 rebounds, 3.7 assists, and 3.3 steals per game, while helping Team USA capture the gold medal. As his profile continued to rise, Peterson also became part of another major shift happening in college athletics. With NIL opportunities transforming amateur sports, he became the first high school basketball player to sign an endorsement deal with Adidas. When the time came to choose a college, nearly every major program wanted him. He ultimately committed to Kansas, one of the most successful programs in college basketball history. For head coach Bill Self, Peterson wasn't just another highly ranked recruit. He described him as one of the most talented players he had ever brought into the program. That kind of praise created enormous expectations before Peterson played a single college game. His freshman season wasn't perfect. Injuries interrupted parts of the year. For many freshmen, losing valuable playing time can disrupt momentum. Peterson responded differently. Whenever he returned to the court, he continued producing. He averaged 20.2 points, 4.2 rebounds, 1.6 assists, and 1.4 steals, while shooting 38% from three-point range. Even while managing injuries, he consistently proved capable of carrying one of college basketball's most demanding offensive roles. The season brought more recognition. Perhaps the most impressive accomplishment came when he broke Andrew Wiggins' Kansas freshman scoring record, placing his name alongside another former top NBA prospect. By the end of the season, Peterson had answered nearly every question scouts still had. He had succeeded in high school. He had performed internationally. He had produced at one of college basketball's biggest programs despite injuries. Now only one step remained: the NBA draft. When draft night finally arrived, Peterson heard his name called almost immediately. With the second overall pick in the 2026 NBA draft, the Utah Jazz selected Darryn Peterson. Years of preparation had led to one unforgettable moment. The rankings no longer mattered. The recruiting battles were over. The college awards had been earned. Now came an entirely different challenge. Every player enters the NBA with potential. Only a few manage to turn that potential into a lasting career. Darryn Peterson has already accomplished what most young players only dream about. He became one of the nation's top recruits, represented Team USA on the international stage, rewrote part of Kansas basketball history, and earned his place near the top of the NBA draft. Now, the next chapter begins. Because being selected second overall creates expectations. Living up to them is something else entirely. The next part of Darryn Peterson's story won't be written by recruiting rankings, college statistics, or draft position. It will be written every night on an NBA court. And that's where the real journey begins.